Welcome to another edition of Five Strands with Art Del Cueto. With me, Art Del Cueto. And again, I'd like to remind you all, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. The subscribe is super important because it helps me gain more of a following. It allows YouTube to post this more and more as suggestions. And obviously the share is very important for me as well because I want people to know the truth of what's happening and all the issues that occur on our borders, with immigration in our country, and of course, the agents' voices to be heard. That's extremely important to me. This is my way of doing it. I've done it for a long, long time. I've spoken on behalf of the agents, and I continue to do so. So at the same time, you guys know where to follow me on Facebook, follow me on my Instagram, follow me on X, and hit subscribe and share. Getting to the point. Look, there's so much going on, of course, and I wanted to break down some of the issues in Minnesota because I think it's important. I've allowed all the so-called experts to talk. And by experts, I mean years ago, the experts on where the fence should go and where the buoys should go in Texas turned into experts on disease because they all were talking about what you should and what you shouldn't do with COVID. And then they've turned into experts on the situation in Venezuela. Now they're experts in use of force and what the law says when you can and when you can't shoot. It's just... it's ridiculous, okay? And I know I'm going to point the finger at both sides, okay? Because that's what it comes down to. There's people on both sides that said, hey, use this, use that. First and foremost, I want to say it is a horrific, and it's what happened in Minnesota. It's a tragedy, but something led, and I said it before, I don't know what it is, but you got to point the finger at some of these politicians, these activists, musicians, actors, anything you can that have been speaking up for many years against law enforcement, against ICE, against all those issues, and telling people that you have to resist, you have to fight, you got to not comply. Something triggered something in this girl that brainwashed her within that echo chamber, and she thought it was a good idea to go to this protest. I believe after she dropped off her child at school, her and her wife, girlfriend, I'm not entirely sure what their situation was, but both of them go to this area to protest, and they fail to comply with commands. Now, I heard from the patriots, okay, there's groups out there, that's why I'm saying I'm going to pick on everyone. There's groups up there that are saying, hey, to be a real patriot, you have to fight against the government that's tyrannical and guys, you have ICE agents out there detaining individuals because the last administration allowed everyone and their mother to come across just by saying asylum and release them, and they lost track of them. They lost track of unaccompanied children, which this administration has now tracked hundreds of thousands of them, okay? And now you got ICE agents that continue to do their job. They're not tyrannical. They're not pulling people over and just yanking them out of cars and, in the middle of the night, not telling anyone where they're at, like if it's some kind of kidnapping. And that's these individuals are out there arresting people, and if you get pulled over, like anything, like if I get pulled over by local PD, sheriffs, whatever it may be, hey, look, I'm going to comply. First and foremost, I always carry a weapon on me, okay? So when I get pulled over by any law enforcement, I turn my vehicle off, I remove the keys from my ignition, I put them on the dashboard, and I lower all my windows. And when the officer approaches, I tell him, officer, I have a weapon in the car, and I tell him what weapon it is. Usually it's, I have this, this, and this, because I carry three of them in the vehicle at all times. But I do that, and then when he tells me, hey, don't move your hands from the steering wheel. I forgot to add that. I hold the steering wheel. I don't move them from the steering wheel. I don't, hold on, let me show you my gun. I don't do anything stupid like that. So when you get detained, pulled over, just follow the instructions. Follow what they're telling you. I mean, that's honestly how it is. Now, you can sit there. The other argument is, well, why should I? And why should... Because if you don't, you're going to face consequences. And those consequences can lead to your death. That's why. Now, that's the decision you got to make. If you think it's, your patriotic duty to go ahead and say F you to the cop because you don't want to live in a tyrannical state and you're going to show him your gun and you end up getting shot, okay, then you got no one to blame but yourself. So I honestly believe this young lady was put in an echo chamber where it brainwashed her to the point that she thought this was okay. Now, I've heard the arguments from both sides where he could have jumped out of the way, he could have moved. You do not know that. You've not been in that situation. And I will tell you, I have, and many other individuals that are my friends have been in those situations. Now, did I pull the gun out? Did I pull the trigger? I didn't have time. So, to be honest, his training kicked in better than my training had kicked in these types of situations because he was able to react quick enough to pull out his weapon because he saw the threat in front of him. There's 3 things that he has to prove: opportunity, intent, and I go on a rant and I forget the other ones. It's means, opportunity, and intent. If he can prove those 3 things, it's a good shoot. And I believe those 3 things are able to be proven. His life was in danger. He felt his life was in danger. That was his fight or flight, was to pull out his weapon and defend himself, protect themselves. There's laws within the state of Minnesota, okay, state laws, that allow him to also do that. The same laws that, you hear the governor of Minnesota talking that it was a bad shoot. Well, maybe the governor of Minnesota should look at his own laws and see that it was that the agent is protected under those laws as well, because he did the right thing. Now, the argument is the tires. I've heard it. Okay, the tires were pointed at him, and she put it in reverse, and you can see her lights on, and she was going to lunge. The agent, we can't even use that either because the agent doesn't know that. The agent did not think. I guarantee you, he didn't look at the tires. He looked at the hood of that car, and he had just had, engaged with this lady that had been going around, interfering nonstop, and he sees her in front. And people say, well, he shouldn't have been in front of the vehicle. He was recording, and he walks around the whole vehicle, and at that point now he's at the front of the vehicle. Another agent approaches the passenger side, at which point she revs it up towards him. That's a split second, folks. That's a split second. And I hear people say, oh, my grandma could have gotten out of the way. No, your grandma could not have gotten out of the way. In fact, the people that I see commenting that their grandma could have gotten out of the way, they couldn't have gotten out of the way either. So that's what it comes down to. He's protected by the law. Now, moving forward, this is going to be the issue, okay? Because it doesn't end there. I don't consider myself an expert, and I've been pointing the fingers at now those that think they're experts. And I'm talking people from the left and the right that have been commenting about this entire thing. So I believe he will be cleared from the shooting because it was a good shoot, not because of political reasons. I've seen it. Now, I have responded to tons of shootings in the Tucson sector. And I've also been privileged to see information and cases on shootings throughout the nation. So because of that, I truly believe it was a good shoot. Now, I'm going to tell you where the problem is going to be. They're going to come after this agent and they're going to try to convict him. They're going to charge him with either murder, manslaughter, involuntary. They're going to throw as many charges as they can at him, because of their political stance and because it has become political throughout the country, not just in the state of Minnesota. So that's where the problem is going to be. So ICE does not have a union, so they don't have that money backing them up like a Border Patrol union has. And so that's where the big issue is going to be. That's why if you follow me on my Facebook page, okay, go to Art Del Cueto on Facebook. I've provided a link on where you can actually donate and help out for the legal fund, because there's going to be a fight. Now, I've heard comments from some people saying it's not going to be any type of legal fight because they can't go after the federal agent. That is absolutely not true. And I'm telling you from experience, I've sat in many courtrooms in the state of Arizona where agents have been tried for different from manslaughter to murder, you name it, from the state and from the county after they have been cleared from a shooting within their own agency. So I truly believe that is going to be coming down, and he's going to need some financial help. I believe the last case that I was involved in the state of Arizona with a shooting was we had to spend well over $1 million on that case, and that was bringing in experts, paying the attorneys. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of money, and you don't want a public defender. I'm telling you right now, you don't want one. There's case of that as well, where agents years ago had been involved, and they had to pretty much sell their houses, use all their retirement, and in the end they ran out of money and they had to use a public defender, and they took a plea. You don't want a plea because that usually ends up with some type of jail. And I know people are hearing me and saying, "Oh, that's not going to happen." Guys, I'm telling you from experience. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've heard the so-called experts, and they are far from experts. And I'm probably closer to being an expert than they are, because I've been involved and I've done it. I've sat in the courtrooms. I've helped with a lot of these cases myself. So please go to my Facebook, follow that link that I posted up there, and try to donate and share it. It has to be done because we need as much backing of this agent as possible. I believe the individual that was shot, her wife has put up some type of GoFundMe, and they're raising a ton of money for that. You're still hearing a lot of politicians that are calling this agent a murderer. They've shown his picture. Now you know why they're wearing masks, folks, okay? They've shown his picture. They've attacked him any way they can through the media, through their own social media platforms. How are you going to find, if and when they go after the agent and he has to go on trial, how are they going to find 12 jurors that haven't heard of this case? How are they going to find 12 jurors that are able to testify in this case? Not testify, but to judge this case? How are they going to do that? They've completely destroyed this case because of their own political agenda. They're shooting themselves in the foot. We'll see what happens forward. But my prayers are for this agent. My prayers are for all the ICE agents and Border Patrol agents out there, because you have a lot of evil people that continue to badmouth them, attack them, go after them, calling them, the Gestapo and everything else you can think of. So it's horrific, and it's not going to stop, unfortunately. And now you have the troglodytes out there that have been caught in this echo chamber as well, that are protesting, they're attacking more agents. Border Patrol has been seen in videos that they've detained people. They've been seen in videos where they have, had to deploy less than lethal, like pepper spray, the pepper ball launchers, all kinds of things. Let me just explain something to you. And I'm not saying it to Border Patrol so badass, though they are, okay? This ain't your local PD, okay? Border Patrol agents are trained a different way. And for those that have been bad-mouthing them about their training, I will say this: no knock on local law enforcement, but Border Patrol trains, and they train 4 times a year with their firearms, not once. They do a use of force 4 times a year. It's every quarter. They know what they're doing. They're extremely good at weapons tactics. They're extremely good at defensive tactics. You're not dealing with just, Barney Fife. I mean, I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to compare any other law enforcement to that. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to explain to you at what level Border Patrol is. Then you add the BORTAC agents, who are trained even more. You're not just going to throw stuff at him and attack him and not believe you're going to get a response. You're going to get arrested for assault, as well you should be. Now, the problem I think that we need to worry about as well is, I hope these individuals that do such get truly prosecuted for attacking federal agents. But that's another story, right? I'm hoping it happens. But people need to understand, you're not dealing with stormtroopers that can't shoot. And you're definitely not dealing with Barney Fife. That's just what it is. So just be aware of that. And again, it comes down to what I started this video on. Obey commands when you get detained by law enforcement. Now, it doesn't make you less of a patriot, because I'll tell you, I'll point the finger at both sides. There's guys out there that have the American flag and everything else, and they're 100% patriots. It takes more than being a patriot than just commenting on Facebook. It takes more than to being a patriot than just going off on some social media rant. That's what it comes down to. And exercise your right to vote. Follow the corrective individuals that are running for office, especially during the midterms. They're extremely important. The next election is the most important, and every other election after that is the most important moving forward. So that's how you show that you're a patriot. And again, watch your six. Be careful. We're living in a time now where you have to constantly look over your shoulder. If you are going to buy a weapon to exercise your Second Amendment and defend yourself and your family and your property, get training. I'm telling you, get training. Not just firearms training, but get a real good firearms trainer that's also going to explain to you the different laws, so you don't get caught up in these issues. Because this ICE agent is the prime example. He did everything right, and he's still caught up in this mess. And we'll see what happens moving forward. Go to my Facebook page. Again, follow me on Facebook. Subscribe here. Share the link. Donate. This agent's going to need all of our help moving forward. On that note, until next time, stay safe and God bless.